And we're back again with some more Marvel's Avengers content. Now we have an inside look. We're going to go over this and kind of look at some behind the scenes stuff for the game. I haven't really looked at this yet, so just going to kind of be my take on this and kind of see some insight into the design process for the game. And here we go.
Welcome to an inside look at Marvel's Avengers, presented by Intel. A multi-episode, in-depth look at how the team at Crystal Dynamics and Marvel Games work together to create Marvel's Avengers. Over the course of this series, we explore the development of this new vision, the passionate people and innovative technology behind it, and above all, the Marvel fans and their impact. But before we get into all that, we do need to cover one big item.
It's not what you think it is.
How do you build a game when you can't be at a studio? To that end, how do you tell the story? Well, given the current state of the world, this is a very different style of series. In March, the entire studio had put aside their controllers, put down their pens, and closed the door behind them. Yet, much like building the game itself, nothing was going to stop us from telling their story. We've had to improvise, change the way we interview the team, and how we bring out...
Your controls suck on your player. I want to look at this concept art, see if there's anything interesting in there. Is that Hawkeye? Looks like Hawkeye. The Hulk. That must be Black Widow. Okay, so nothing really interesting in here that we haven't seen in game already.
Improvise, change the way we interview the team and how we bring our story to life. Whether it's from their living room or a personal office, the team will stop at nothing to tell us the story of how they all assembled. Comic books are the ultimate collaborative medium. A writer and artist team up to tell incredible stories. It's only natural that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby would use the idea of teamwork to bring together Earth's mightiest heroes in 1963 with Avengers #1. Creating a video game is a huge undertaking, usually involving many people, but the same idea holds true. Marvel Games, Square Enix, and Crystal Dynamics needed to come together to bring a new original Avengers story to life.
So we had our first meetings with the Marvel Games guys. Jay had just put his group together. We got to meet Bill Roseman.
We really asked them, well, what characters are you interested in? What's the gameplay that you can deliver? What's the passion that you and your studio have?
And my answer was, well, we love taking these believable heroes and telling these epic stories around them. And they're like, oh my God, that's exactly how we describe what we do at Marvel.
And when we were talking about different story scenarios we could do in the game, there's about 4 or 5 different pitches, and they were all very interesting. But this idea of them breaking up and coming together, everyone at Marvel Games, we were sitting on one side, we looked, we're like, what about that one?
Alright, so it looks like the whole idea for the actual game was collaborative between Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix, and Marvel Games themselves. So this is definitely something that's approved from the top, or from the source. Straight from the sauce.
We all agree, like, that's interesting. Tell us more about that one.
Whether you're a writer finding Bruce's struggles, an artist reinventing Iron Man's armor, or an actor finding Miss Marvel's voice, anyone who's ever worked on an Avengers story shares the difficult but exciting task of reassembling Earth's mightiest heroes. They all share a legacy.
Everything I work on starts with story. I was really inspired by that comic series Marvels and that perspective from sort of that film.
Dude, that was the first time I was like, oh my God, the art in this. I used to have some of those cards. The art is so good in that series, and the way the perspectives are done and everything. Absolutely wonderful. Very good series.
Sheldon, the reporter perspective of these dangerous, powerful
Look at that.
Versus superheroes. So what if the Avengers did this thing that was so unforgivable that society saw them as dangerous?
The creative process was thinking about how would each of these Avengers react and you see them doing different things. So Tony Stark, you know, he basically goes back to his roots. He goes back to, you know, his equivalent of Hulk really never comes to terms with it. So Bruce Banner's sort of stuck in this in-between state. And then you have Black Widow, who goes undercover. She's trying to figure it out from the inside. She infiltrates AIM. And then you have Thor, who puts down his hammer. He puts Mjolnir down at the base of the Captain America statue. Captain America's missing, presumed dead.
To me, the Avengers are all about Cap. What if you removed him? The personalities that are held together by spit and glue, if you will, start to fall apart. And then you add on top of that a sort of charged ongoing conflict with the Avengers themselves. And, you know,
which I have found from reading those comics recently, which I'll have a couple more. I finally tracked them down. I'm going to go through them, try to do a little better format of the previous two. Fortunately, I can't get Black Widow, but yeah, they show a lot of that in those comics, the prequel comics as well.
have a weakened, very weakened Avengers.
The way that we went about differentiating our designs of the heroes in our game really started with Crystal Dynamics coming to us with the idea of more super, more human. And ultimately what that meant was that they wanted to create a world that felt real, that felt tangible, and that each costume that they created has
I love the Miss Marvel look, like with the bandana or the scarf over her face was really cool, like in Utah with all the sand and stuff like that. Would have been really cool, like a unique skin in Utah besides just covering whatever your costume currently was in poop from a previous mission. But Hulk, though, I don't know. I don't know about that Hulk.
and that each costume that they created has logic and reason.
Black Widow, though.
If you look at Thor specifically, you'll find a lot of details such as like Norse runes and patterns. Even Mjolnir's design is really based on real world references.
If you do know the characters, you want to deliver those looks. Like if you're a long-term reader, here's 10 suits that jump to your mind. For Hulk, boom, here he is in a suit. And some people are like, what's that? And the readers are like, that's Mr. Fix-It.
Early on in the project, we'd have these meetings called the character fantasy meeting. So basically, you'd make a list of all the things that you expect the heroes to do, and then we would basically see if we could make those into features.
And somebody said, you know what we should do Hulkbuster. We're all like, oh, I don't know how we do Hulkbuster. That's going to feel like a seventh character at this point. And then these guys went off and did it.
It was effectively like saying we're going to commit to making like however many games it takes to make this many heroes. Iron Man has a lot of a flight sim in it, and Hulk has super intense melee brawlers, and they're shooting and just so many layers in here. Combine that with the online, combine that with the different.
That's very true. There are a lot of components and moving parts to the game, so it's no wonder that it just does not work right now. There's a lot to it. A lot to it.
Mission types, a fully fleshed out campaign. We had a big appetite because if you're going to make a Marvel's Avengers game, you can't just make one aspect.
But ideally, if they had just made a campaign, or just made a co-op game, or just made an online game with the story that's just involved with online stuff, it would have been better. Flat out, it would have been better. I mean, if the complete game comes together in enough time to keep the game alive, it'll pan out, and we can all be happy knowing that the game has a lot of depth to it that actually properly works now. But yeah, ultimately, that tends to be what happens when you have a big appetite in game development, especially when you have big publishers.
Once we had the sort of the layout of the story, we started looking for a cast.
Thor, what are we dealing with here? They did not introduce themselves.
Shauna Sky and the team at Crystal really, like the Avengers themselves, they have this all-star list of talent.
They're games industry legends, right? There's a lot of people that have been in the games industry and work on some of the biggest games of all time. So seeing that cast interact alongside, Sandra Saad, our lead, it was really interesting because she came in more of a newcomer, and all the core cast, she had a different relationship with them. It really sort of mirrors the story of the game.
When you have actors that good, they can really take these characters from whatever we write on a page to suddenly, oh, that's absolutely what Iron Man would sound like in our particular version of this world.
They're fans too. You know, I think the whole cast, I think there's not a single person on the team that isn't like a super fan. It's a great synergy. It's something I personally welcome because I like sort of this philosophy, you know, that the best idea wins. And if someone or an actor comes up with a line that really captures the moment better than on the page, we go with it. We're like, listen, this is that happy mistakes, you know, that you kind of get
Rest in peace, Bob Ross.
from live action.
Generally, the process starts with a creative coming up with an idea. They have some vision for what they want to achieve, and they come to the engineers and they say, hey, how do we do this? And the engineers work with each other. They work with design and art and animation, audio, and they take a swing or two at it. And often, they will need more hands to help. We partner with Intel in order to push their hardware to its limits.
So one of the things that we've done from the get-go was to ensure that the gaming experience, no matter the platform or no matter the hardware, was you're going to have a great experience. So making sure that the game runs well on tens of millions of products that are already out there, to future-proofing the game so that as hardware is released, the game will scale to take advantage of the additional performance and hardware that Intel brings to market. So ideas like, sure, you can hit a car and the car might move on lower systems, but on a higher end system, if you hit a car, throw a car, it's going to break apart.
We created.
When can we throw cars? Please. That'd be great. Also, I'm trying not to comment too heavily on this piece right now.
A more advanced armor destruction system where you had pieces of armor breaking off of the robots in the game.
And not just disappear either, having those pieces stick around in the environment.
We had more advanced heroics where the Avengers themselves would exert forces on all those physical objects, and they would fly around the world in order to make, more interesting and exciting and tangible combat.
And so small things like that makes the world come to life. And once it's there, you're never going to forget it. If you go back to other games where that's not there, you're going to notice it.
But here's the thing, when you are destroying huge bits of terrain and city and the landscape itself is otherwise unscathed, it doesn't quite have the same impact. There are games that have done done more with less, debris and made more compelling, feeling gameplay out of what they've done with it. So while there is destructibles, and actually it's kind of funny if you turn on the ultra settings on the Intel stuff and you just start spamming Hulk's power attack, or not even his power attack, just his heavy attack, he'll start throwing rubble around and the room will start to fill with this rubble. Just completely, there's just ground rubble everywhere, and the ground itself looks completely fine. It's kind of ridiculous.
Because of the current situation, we were all worried about, how this would work with everyone working remotely.
It's amazing. There was no manual for how to do this when we were all told to go home.
And we scrambled to find solutions to be able to continue to work together.
Like I say, this is a game by fans for fans, and I don't think anything could stop Crystal Dynamics from getting this game done.
Okay, well, let's hope that holds true, because that's what we need right now.
Through inspiration.
Being able to trust each other.
Working together for the greater good.
People believe it, they can achieve it. And so for us, it's believe.
There's no other choice but to sort of assemble ourselves, as art teams to the IT teams, level design, gameplay, story. It's all one organism. It's our own real world Avengers.
Oh, there you go. That's the
In episode 2, we're going to cover a new Avenger, threatening villains,
Oh.
all new world they exist in.
Oh boy. Let's go sign up for Intel, boys. Oh, yeah? That's what everyone's like. Anyways. So, yeah. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think? Huh? Does that explain anything? Well, let's hope that those words ring true. Nothing will stop Crystal Dynamics at completing this game. Hopefully they complete it. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.